First things first, now that we got the wheres out of the way, is how many of these interviews, whether today or just in the last year in general, how many interviews have started very awkwardly with someone trying to be cute or even just flubbing their words? Talking with talk. We're talking with talk.
You get one. Everybody gets one pun.
Yeah, and it's usually right
It's
off the
just the
hop,
start
right?
of time. All right. Yeah, exactly. But then you get no more. So it's like you get it done. Your token's been inserted into the machine, and now you're good to go.
Has it been frustrating to have to school people, or you listen to people refer to that band talk and use the they instead of he?
It happens occasionally, and I should have been more prepared for it, considering I picked a a single word as a name instead of a name. It was my own undoing. Um, but yeah, it happens every once in a while.
Can you tell our listeners and those watching this where the name came from and why talk was chosen?
I can. It came from two places. The first place is it's a song by Coldplay that I really like, and that I like growing up. And Coldplay means a lot to me, and I credit them with saving my life. And they make me want to do what they did for me for others. And so I wanted to carry a piece of them with me. And also, I talk a lot, and I never shut up. And it's I've always been that way. And so it was the perfect fit, to be honest.
We would get along great then. That's why I'm in the radio biz. I have no musical talent, but like music, so talking is what I can do. You've got both,
I
and
respect it.
you've obviously had talent, but you talk about Coldplay saving your life and doing for you what you're doing for others. Can you expand upon that,
Mhm.
about how you've kind of discovered your talent and decided to run with it, and how you kind of got out of a dark place to be here?
Yeah, I started playing music when I was really young. I started playing drums when I was 4 or 5 years old, and then kind of hopped around. The ADHD ability of losing focus was a blessing for me to play multiple instruments instead of just staying on one. Um, and then progressively took it more and more serious in high school and kind of after high school. Um, and I worked kind of normal jobs like everyone else and did everything, but I didn't really feel fulfilled, and it led me down the path of depression and anxiety and feeling like I don't belong and something's different, something's wrong. Why do I hate waking up and going to work? Um and I think at the time, um I didn't exactly know what the path forward was. I mean, I was always told I could follow my dreams and do anything I wanted. My parents are fantastic people. Um and I think one day I just decided that it was kind of I was gonna just do everything I could to be successful in music and to make a life out of it. Um, and I think the message that Chris Martin and Coldplay have of kind of never giving up and accepting everyone and loving everyone and you belong here kind of thing is something that I still have to this day in my music and everyday kind of mantra. Um, and so it seemed appropriate to kind of carry them with me.
So this is kind of cool because my 10-year-old daughter is a huge fan of yours, and she calls one of her favorite songs "Runaway to Mars." We just got her diagnosed this month with ADHD, which answers a lot of questions, and some of the
Yes,
same
I can
struggles.
imagine.
Some of the
Yeah.
same struggles you just listed are something we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So what advice would you have someone who's looking up to you, someone who's going through the same path, someone who struggles to find those things, whether it's music, instrumentation, sports, those things to stick to because of their ADHD? What advice would you have to them to kind of get in a better position?
My best advice and my greatest regret when I was growing up and there wasn't as much knowledge about all of this with parents or schools or anything, um, was that you learn differently, and that's okay. That was the number one thing, is you're gonna have different interests and learn about things in a different way, and to not be hard on yourself and um and not to let people tell you that it's wrong. um I needed to be fidgeting and drawing and singing and distracting and doing all sorts of crazy stuff in school to even make it through. um and I think I kind of let everything go and just followed my heart. And if I got distracted or I got unfocused or like I couldn't bring myself to finish a task or something, that was okay, that like the next day is a new day. And the most important thing I learned was being kind to myself on what my limits are and what I can do and what I can get done. And I think that was a huge turning point for me, was like finding something I really loved. And like there's a little bit of obsession that comes with ADHD sometimes. And so I just became obsessed with making music, and I was trying to make music that that I didn't hear out in the world, that didn't exist. And I felt like I could kind of provide a voice for some people and their feelings, and for myself. And yeah, just not to be too hard on yourself is the best advice.
There you go, Helena, and anyone with ADHD. That was advice just for you. Thank you for that. Let's talk about Runaway to Mars, smash hit across multiple formats, music that is unlike other things, just like you said, that some people can hear.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the breakthrough hit of the year. I know it was viral first, then charting in 2023. Did any of this surprise you? Were there any expectations with this song? And how does that sit with you mentally now at the end of the year?
I think when I first wrote it, I knew I had something pretty good. Um, it went through kind of a round of editing with some friends and re-recording, and I made probably 4 or 5 versions of it. But it always came back to that demo version, which is basically what you hear today. And I sent it through to a lot of my friends who aren't involved in music in any way. I call them like mirrors, and the response was overwhelmingly incredible from people, where many songs before it were not as positive. It was this is good, but a lot of the time, which is what I needed and what I used those people for, was to kind of shape my creativity and make good decisions for people who maybe weren't musicians. And I had hyped it up to the point when I released it the first time that it was gonna do what it did the second time when it went viral. I was convinced that this song was going to change my life, and I'm going to put this out, and next week I'm going to be famous. That's basically what I had built it up to in my head. The song was written in 2020. The music video was shot in November of 2020, but the song didn't come out for the first time until June of 2021. And so there's a huge period of time where everything was in place, but I hadn't found the right team and structure business wise or artistically. I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do it proper. I didn't want to just throw it out there and see what happened. And when it came out, it did really well for a new artist with a new song with no major label or anything. It did really, really well. But it was definitely disappointing at first when I first released it, because I thought I for some reason built it up that I was going to be an overnight hero. And it was definitely a little bit humbling. But the messages I received about the song from people kind of all over the world when it was released was incredible. And I always knew that we would probably come back around to it, and it would find some kind of success down the road, which it did a year later. And I got a ton of those same messages from people all around the world, but this time it was like times 100. And so I felt super validated the second time when it went really viral, and where it's at now, I feel like I was right about it, and a lot of my kind of friends and family were right about it. And I'm happy that the song's grown beyond what I am, and a lot of people know the song and have no idea who I am, which is totally fine with me. That's why we make songs anyway, right? You want to reach the most people you can and impact the most people you can and share your art, and that's what I did.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the process, and especially about your disappointment, because from the outside looking in, people maybe not knowledgeable of the business, they'll take a look at a 2-year process and say, that is pretty overnight success. Like, you are the hero, the star, the
Right.
the new shining star on the block in that period of time. We live in a different time where online, TikTok, there are different ways to get your sound out, and yet in a traditional sense, you've seen success as well through radio. And so I'm
Right.
wondering, there's a stereotype of being in the business and having yes men, et cetera, but you had those people that were honest, telling you yay or nay about other songs. And how important is it to have that honesty around you and authenticity when you aren't taking a traditional route?
I think it's super important. I think no matter what route you take, you need people around you that will be honest with you. I'm very fortunate that my live band are people I've known for a decade and played music with for a decade, and I've known my manager for 5 years or 6 years, and maybe longer even at this point. I don't even know. But I'm very fortunate that they all love me enough to tell me if I'm making a mistake or if I'm not acting how I should be. Everyone has bad days, um, but not a lot of teams would be like a family as much as this one is. Um, and yeah, everyone that I include or bring on or adopt into the family is likely someone I've known for a long time, or one of us is known for a long time, who aren't afraid. I need people to tell me what's up. Everyone does.
Can you talk a bit about the pressure after Runaway to Mars and the year that it's had, the pressure to follow up, and where your mindset is? Is it, oh, I got to do something like that, or I got to do something completely different, or are you not feeling pressure at all?
It's everything. It's everything you could imagine and 100,000 options more, that I stay awake at night thinking about. At first, it came so unexpectedly, having already been out for a little bit, having it go viral kind of in September of last year. It was so unexpected, and I wasn't mentally prepared for what that came with, which was a whole lot of pressure and a lot of if you don't do this, this is a mistake, coming from a million different people. When you get to a major label, there's a lot of fantastic people, and there's a lot of great advice and a lot of people that want to help and want to see you succeed. But it becomes a lot of people, and so something that I hadn't figured out yet was how to follow my gut primarily. You want to do the best you possibly can, and so you want to listen to all the advice around you at all times, and it just becomes too much. And so the biggest lesson I learned was, like, I got to follow my gut no matter what. That was the number one thing. Always follow my gut. Then there's days where you're on top of the world, and you streamed this amount of times, or you got booked on this festival or this artist, and they're amazing days. And then there's days where you wake up and you think that maybe you're an imposter, and you're not doing the right thing, and why are you doing this, or what are these songs, and are they actually good, or did you get lucky? And I asked a close friend of mine who's been around a lot of massive artists and superstars and written for them. And they mentioned that it never goes away. You just kind of get used to it, and you find ways of dealing with it. And that was a pretty big eye-opening experience for me. I now feel very comfortable where I am. I feel like, the most important thing is that I work as hard as I can, and make sure I'm happy with my effort that I'm putting in, and do it all with love and from a place of good, not a place of bad, and try and lift people up around me as much as I can. And I think that's helped a lot with being impatient, another ADHD trait that I'm still working on, and waiting for things to happen instead of forcing them to happen. But definitely a huge learning experience. And right now I'm very, very happy with where things are at.
And you're happy with the grind. You talked about being disappointed with the time it took for Runaway to Mars, but it's always funny in the radio world. It's a little bit insider baseball, but at every award show ever, the best new artist has been grinding for years. And we always chuckle at the best new artist. So this is something that
I mean, it's been a decade almost, since I really started this whole thing. And I had put out music under this name and different names, myself, and very small time things, and took it all down and deleted everything, and took a new approach. People don't see it really. You're 100% correct. It takes a long time to try and build something special.
Quickly, I want to talk about the role that TikTok's played in your success, because it's a very polarizing thing, especially to certain formats and audiences. And then you can talk about the North American version of TikTok versus the Chinese version of TikTok and what the content differences are. But here we are. It has played a huge role in a lot of artists. So talk about a bit about that journey.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing and a curse. I think that it's a lottery ticket every time you post a video. As a musician, you know, that's where a lot of people are finding their new artists, and they're spending a lot of time there. So it only makes sense, you know, just like when CDs and Napster and all that stuff was happening, you know, it was another option, another tool in the toolbox to try and be seen in a world of oversaturation and overstimulation for music and artists and media of all types. Um, and it can be a curse because you're now an artist, a marketer, a video personality. You know, it can become a lot to deal with. And I think I struggle with it. I'm sure every artist struggles with it. I've had moderate success on TikTok, and you know, it brought a lot of attention to my music, and I'm very thankful for it. But again, it's a grind. It's a huge grind. It's half the job, you know, right now. And I, like I said, I'm thankful for it. And anybody that finds me there or finds the music through there, I'm happy to have them. But I don't see myself as like a TikTok artist or like a TikToker, you know. It's just I'm an artist that found some success on there. And do I hope for a day where I don't have to do that anymore? That'd be fantastic. But you know, there's also days where you feel creative and you make something that you actually think is awesome. You know, it's been a creative outlet for me, and I have a partner for all my social media named Drew, and we've done all my stuff online since the beginning together. He's a friend of mine, goes back to when we were 7 years old. And we strategize and we work on it, and it's kind of like another creative outlet for me and him. And so there's two sides to the coin. And I think in general there's a lot of artists that have careers right now because of it, and so you got to be thankful for it.
Well, from the old-fashioned radio world, the Rock 95 audience is taking to your music, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback. So congratulations.
That's great.
on breaking mold, but also kind of finding the success on an old rock and roll station as well. So one quick final question before we let you go, because we're getting close to the holidays, and I did want that to cash in my one pun. I wanted to play a little game of what not to talk about. Your advice for anybody who's going to be gathering around with the family around the turkey dinner. What is your advice to stay away from?
I would say the things that I personally don't go for in extended family gatherings, because you don't know who's gonna be into something new. I try and stay away from politics at all times. I try and keep it mostly to the family and the experiences and the love and the gifts and all that. So I try and stay away from all the politics. And once you're a few drinks in with the family, just be careful on the stories you're telling, because what seems normal to you might not seem normal to them. Especially in the world that I'm in right now. There's nothing really normal, but stuff that seems normal to me every day may not be appropriate for the dinner table. So choose your stories wisely is my best advice.
So aliens are okay then?
Aliens are fine. Oh yeah. I wouldn't consider that political. You know, it's like aliens are, I mean, I think they're out there, and I think it's actually more acceptable to talk about aliens now than it was, you know, I don't know, 5 years ago. You'd probably be looked at pretty strange, but I think now aliens is appropriate to believe in.
Yeah, well, we look forward to the collaborations once they reveal themselves, but keep doing what you're doing.
That'd be great.
Thank you very much for talking to us. We really appreciate your time and attention. Happy holidays and all the best in 2024.
You too. Thank you.